The ultimate game, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest game in the world is American politics. And I was with you. I signed the Never Trump letter, so I feel your pain. I want to talk about the choice American voters had, because I think the choice was best summed up by two World War II acronyms that you may not know, but I'm here to teach you. The first was SNAFU. SNAFU is a World War II acronym that stands for Situation Normal, All Fucked Up. And that was the proposition that Hillary Clinton offered the American people. The same old mess. What was the alternative? The alternative was FUBAR, fucked up beyond all recognition. If that had been your choice, which would you have gone for? America voted FUBAR. This was kind of unexpected. Everybody who is paid to write about American politics, whose job it was, said that she was bound to win. The probabilities just before the election were like 92% Clinton, 86% Clinton, 70% Clinton. Nate Silver of 538 said 66.9% Clinton, not 0.8%, 0.9%. Thank you, Nate. The betting markets said 70%, they rounded it up. This keeps happening. I am from the United Kingdom, you can tell by my funny accent. And I have seen this movie before. The movie was called Brexit, back in June. Same kind of people. Oh, it's never going to happen. No chance whatsoever. 73% probability that Britain votes to remain in the European Union. No. Wrong. Totally career-endingly wrong. Why? Why so wrong? The answer is that people who live in elite bubbles from London to New York just couldn't help making fun of Boris Johnson and Donald Trump. And you know, I have to admit that I did a little bit of this myself. I had a little bit of fun at their expense. In fact, I even likened Donald Trump at one point to one of those Samsung Galaxy Note 7 phones that bursts into flames when you're trying to make a call. We should all have remembered that 2016 is the year of living improbably, when Leicester City win the Premier League in English football. Leicester City, when Iceland beat England 2-1 in the European Championships. Why are we surprised? Let me show you two wonderful maps. The map on the left shows you all the counties in the United States that voted for Donald Trump in last week's election. 85% of the land surface, just under half the votes. And the map on the right-hand side shows you what I call the Clinton Archipelago, the tiny little islands of urban America where people voted for Hillary Clinton. The people on the islands hardly ever go to Trumpland. People in New York don't really go to Ohio. They try to fly over Michigan. And this is why people on the islands were kind of surprised, to the point of being still in shock. But the other thing that's really interesting about these maps is that they explain why Donald Trump does not feel very worried about climate change. Because if ocean levels do rise significantly, the Clinton archipelago will disappear. I mean, climate change, bring it on. This is no laughing matter, ladies and gentlemen. I've made you laugh, and now I'm going to make you feel very much less cheerful. This is serious. There's no question that the Russian government tried to swing this election in Donald Trump's favor. It was the Russian government, we now know, that was hacking the Democratic Party's server and making the contents available to that nice man, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks. You used to think he was a hero. It's true. He's a Russian intelligence operative now. In Russia, on the night of the election, there was a party, and at the party they showed this picture of a somewhat idealized Donald Trump with a somewhat idealized Vladimir Putin. It was actually a triptych. Do you know who that lady on the other side, on the left, is? That's Marine Le Pen, leader of the Front National in France, who seeks election as the French president next year. The populist wave is not finished. It should be a populist tide, really, and each country has its own populist wave. Populism is a worldwide phenomenon. Everyone who lives in Latin America should know that. And they should also know that you do not need to be white to be a populist. President Duterte of the Philippines is proving that populism is global and it can be brown too. But I want to use these few minutes that I have with you to try to persuade you not to panic utterly and completely. Just a little. The wrong kind of panic is to say, it's 1933 in Weimar America, and we just elected Hitler. There are books that imagine a fascist America. One of them here, Sinclair Lewis's from 1935, It Can't Happen Here, and then The Plot Against America by Philip Roth. People have imagined a Nazi America for a long time, but this is not Nazism. This is populism. It's not about invading countries, it's about trade wars. And that's different. Not good, especially not good for Mexico, but different from invading Poland. My good friend Andrew Sullivan wrote a powerful essay earlier this year arguing that America has never been so ripe for tyranny. The Boston Globe wrote a parody front page back in April, predicting that almost the moment he was inaugurated, Trump would unleash an unprecedented wave of deportations. Like everything that people describe as unprecedented, of course it has a precedent. When people say unprecedented on TV, what they mean is, I don't know any history. Eisenhower did this. It wouldn't be wholly amazing if Trump did it. But it doesn't mean he's Hitler. Just because somebody is authoritarian, just because they have supporters who are racist, doesn't mean that they're automatically Hitler. That's called bad historical analogies. And we have to avoid bad historical analogies because if we use them, we won't understand what is happening. So what is happening? Populism aims to achieve short-run economic benefits for its supporters. Donald Trump's economic program is an extraordinary combination of fiscal stimulus, protectionism, infrastructure spending, tax cuts. It's highly likely, ladies and gentlemen, that this will work. Particularly the fiscal stimulus, which economists on the left like my old enemy Paul Krugman, have been arguing for years. I feel kind of sorry for them because they didn't expect that fiscal stimulus was going to come along in the shape of Donald J. Trump. But that's history for you. Most large-scale Keynesian fiscal stimuluses in history have not been carried out by nice people. You need to come to terms with the possibility that Donald Trump's economic policies of putting America first will work, at least for a time. This chart here, which was published just the other day by everybody's favorite investment bank, Goldman Sachs, even Donald Trump likes it so much that he's considering making a former Goldman banker his Treasury Secretary and has a former Goldman banker as his chief of strategy. Yes, that's Steve Bannon. You've probably read about him. But Goldman Sachs has done the numbers, and what they anticipate happening is that there will be an uptick in growth that could last up to 2 years. Next year, you're going to have to adjust to the fact that this will seem to be working. But America first implies everybody else second, and especially Mexico. The corollary of the stimulus, if it's accompanied by an aggressive protectionist strategy and a hardball renegotiation of NAFTA, is going to be pain for you. The other thing that we have to come to terms with is that Donald Trump, simply by changing Barack Obama's foreign policy, may also look successful internationally next year. To be honest, he really couldn't do much worse than Obama has done in the Middle East. This chart was published just a couple of days ago by one of the institutes that studies the incidence of terrorism. And what it shows is that under President Obama, there has been a surge in terrorism. The most violent year in recorded history for terrorist deaths was 2014, and the second most violent was 2015. And no doubt, 2016 will be up there with them when they run the numbers. Trump, if he does a deal with Putin that ends the Syrian civil war, and if he unleashes, as he clearly intends to, his national security advisor, Mike Flynn, and his friends against the jihadists, will almost certainly do better than Obama. And that is going to make the lives of people who said never Trump, the lives of people who have denounced him, like me, extraordinarily uncomfortable. You know, last summer, I was explaining what was going to happen to my liberal friends, trying to get them out the bubble. I said, look, guys, your worst nightmare is not a Trump presidency. That's what you think your worst nightmare is. But no, no, no. Your worst nightmare is a successful Trump presidency. There, I promised that I would not only make you laugh, but also make you feel just a little bit afraid. And I have to admit, 2 weeks on, more or less, the thing that scares me most is that at least for a couple of years, this might all seem to work. Thank you very much indeed.